Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our founding members for being here. And we're delighted to bring you our first event as PREDA. We're Pakistan's first membership-based association that focuses on public relations, event management, digital, and activations. We have with us our chairperson, Shahnaz Ramzi. Thank you for being here. We have with us our senior vice president, Priya Altaf, myself as vice president, and then we have our esteemed co-founders of PREDA. We have Anisa Rashid Khan, who has Raka Events, Amir Mazhar, who does Savvy PR, and Sarfraz Niazi, one half of the dynamic JB and Jaws duo. And we're here today essentially to talk to you about the future of the industries that we represent and PREDA. What is it that PREDA does? Oh, I'm so sorry. And we have one of my favorite people who I missed, and I apologize, Farishte Aslam. She's one of our founders, and she's the CEO of Talking Point PR. So essentially, we're here to talk to you about PREDA, about what it is that we do, and what it is that we envision for the industry in Pakistan and beyond. And then we're here to field some of your questions. So we're going to start, and the format's going to be, I'm going to pose some questions to different panelists. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box, and we'll try to get to them either during the course of the session or just afterwards. So on that note, I now have a question for our chairperson to open the session. Shahnaz, how do you envision PREDA revolutionizing the PR and digital marketing, event management, and activation industries in Pakistan?
Thank you, Selena, and welcome everybody. So actually, when the idea of launching PREDA germinated 2 years ago, I think the objectives are very, very clear, and that was to change the status quo. The main objective behind starting a platform like this was for the protection, enhancement, and development of our industries. At that time, and to a great extent, even today, I felt that the industries have all been working in silos. We've never, other than one or two event management companies, perhaps, or PR companies that may have been joining hands with with other companies in this industry. Nobody's really been cooperating or coordinating with one another. We've even been looking at one another with mistrust. So I felt that there was a great need for a platform where all of us came together and worked towards a common goal and interests. And this always strength in numbers. So that was how this idea came about, and I think this is how it will revolutionize all these industries, because once you're together on one platform, working for your common goals, you have grievances that can be addressed on an official platform. We've in fact already seen that something like this has been addressed by one of our members. We've got some great founding members. All of us have common problems. All of us have common issues. And it's not just going to be, something that's restricted just to us, but I think all the general membership that come, they will have the same problems. So PREDA is going to be able to address those when you have an issue and it's addressed through a body like ours. People take a stand up and take notice of it. We've already, I think Rasik is not here, but we've already got examples of people, who sorted out their problems because of that. So I think one of the clear objectives of PREDA, which is going to also revolutionize the industries, is going to be the setting and enhancing of clear benchmarks for professional exchange between the service industry and clients. And I don't want to go over time because I don't know how much time you're allocating to each speaker, but I would like to say, just add a couple of things. One is that we want to also do a lot of workshops, have some sessions with master trainers, for the benefit of the newer generations, for the benefit of the new people who are entering this industry. There is so much scope now for specialization. There used to be just companies that had all these departments and they used to do all these things in-house. Now there are all of us who are working as specialists and being outsourced. So we are in a position, having years of experience behind us, to be able to help mentor and guide others who are entering this profession. And we would like to do that. And this is one of those positions, in fact. And I think that is one of the ways that this is going to change things for us.
Thank you, Shahnaz, for that comprehensive
and please
reply. Shahnaz touched a little bit on some of the challenges that our industries have been facing. You've pioneered a lot of industries in Pakistan. So I think it would really be helpful to hear from you on what are more detail on what these current challenges are across the industries that you work, and what are some of the opportunities that exist through PREDA and independently.
Thank you, Selena. Thank you, Shahnaz, for doing this. And I just want to tell you, it's been a long process, everyone. It's taken us almost about 2.5, maybe 3 years to put this together. And it's not just for us, it's for the entire industry. And when we make the industry more professional and stronger, we get better. Now, let's look at some of the challenges that we all face in our industry. Number one, I think, which always comes up, is copyrights. And it's a very big problem because all of us have to pitch for events or for activations or PR or digital. And we find sometimes with the bigger companies, but sometimes even with the smaller companies, they take your ideas or they take your presentations and they try and replicate them themselves, or they give it to smaller agencies to do, and or in-house. And that becomes a big problem because you spend a lot of time and effort in your company to put that together. So I think we have to talk about copyrights. Copyrights are very important in Pakistan. There's a lot of infringement and we need to have that kind of stability. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I think that we face. Number two, I think when we're talking about non-payment, payment is always a very important thing. We've had 3-4 years. In fact, this is the 4th year that we're running into a lot of problems because we had COVID for 2 years. Then it was followed by the floods last year. Then we've had inflation and economic and political instability. And when you have very difficult credit terms from clients, and you have to make payments very quickly to your suppliers and vendors and your employees, for example, it becomes a big problem. And so I think we need to work on structures for that as well and put them together for the entire industry so that we can be more effective. Then let's talk about, there's different kinds of relationships, and some relationships, be it with your clients, be it with your employees, be it with your bosses, be it with your supplier and vendor, become abusive, and we can get into situations where we are bullied into doing things which are not part of our scope of work, or it's not even it's not nice and it's aggressive and it can hurt the industry. So we need to
Priya, there's a term that I thought of recently called corporate gaslighting. I think that exists a lot in our industries, right?
Yes, corporate, we know gaslighting came up a few years ago and mostly it was used for women and in domestic situations, but it can happen in any relationship. And so we need to definitely look at that. And, these are the challenges that we're facing. Then, of course, we have suppliers, and whether it's suppliers, whether it's influencers, when you're calling about digital, whether it's talent, we have problems we face with them where they don't deliver. And again, there's all kinds of blackmail and there's all kinds of situations that you're put into which is very, very uncomfortable. So we need to look at those kind of challenges.
So Priya, if we can, I'll come back to you maybe, sorry to cut you off just in the interest of time, but if I come back to you on the opportunities later, because I think the challenges you've outlined nicely would be good to hear on the opportunities. But, first I'd like to turn a bit to Farishte. Farishte, you have very unique experience having worked in the corporate world in a multinational and then setting up your own agency as an entrepreneur. So essentially that gives you both perspectives, right? And in that you've had to deal with a lot of agencies in your corporate life, but you are now an agency yourself. So my question to you would then be, given all of that experience and perspective, how do you feel PREDA and all of us at PREDA can help professionalize the agency culture and the service industry as a whole when it comes to PR, digital event management, and marketing? And the second part of that question is, how can we enhance the skill set of service providers?
Right. Thank you, Selena, for asking such a vital question. It slipped my mind as well. But, I have to say that the industries have changed exponentially in the last 5 years, even in the last 10 years. And now it's been about 10 years since I left the corporate sector. So the way we used to deal with agencies then is so different to what it is now that, it doesn't even bear comparison. But in a nutshell, what we used to look for agencies to do was to, training of the industry. You needed a body that would train. And I think we at PREDA will be doing that in setting up, like it's not possible for everyone to send their people abroad to get training in, say, social media or this, but once we are organized, we as PREDA can invite international trainers and get them to train everyone. So where you'd be paying £1,000, you would now pay 10,000 rupees to get trained. And I think that's a very distinct possibility. Second thing you would look for is conflict resolution, because that's how you would actually be helping your client. Because if two clients are in a deadlock, they look to a body, say, like PAS to do it. So to arbitrate between them. And that used to happen a lot, and it still happens. And PREDA can play that role as well. Whereas, so that if all the agencies are together under our banner, and if somebody needs to complain about someone, they have someone to go to. Right now, everybody exists in silos, and really, the client doesn't know who to go to. So this I'm just wearing the client's hat on and speaking about. The third thing is research and measurement. Like, it's very expensive to get any kind of data. What is the value of this PR? What was the value of my activation? All those things, the big companies like Nielsen do, but they can't do it in isolation. So if we all get together, give that curate that kind of data and present it to the client, that would enhance our agency's reputation, as well as the need for a client increases that way. So these are just some of the things I think we as PREDA should be looking at. This, of course, in addition to the main thing, which is there's strength in unity. So we must get together. We must fight for our rights, which right now we don't have. Priya spoke about plagiarizing and copyright control. And so many times we've all faced the situation where at least 7 to 8 people are asked to pitch. And it's wonderful for a client. They get 7 to 8 fresh pitches. We don't get anything out of it. Even the person who wins the pitch actually sometimes gets nothing because that activation never gets held. So where are the rules and regulations to keep something like that in check? So fighting for a pitch fee, which is a global norm, would be one of the things that we should actively work towards.
I think that's an excellent point, because I think expectation for any service providers is to give an entire strategic plan for everything, whole event, 3D render, whether it's a whole digital map, whether it's a whole PR plan, without even being engaged. And even if those ideas are not replicated, the reality is we're still at the end of the day putting in our time and resources for something that might not happen. So, and I want to pick up a little bit on that with Anisa, because our industries, we have to admit this, have a problem in that this is the first time I'd say that our industry is actually uniting to collaborate. Otherwise, many of us or the people that we know or work within the industry spend their time cutting the legs out of anybody else in our industries, right? So PREDA is very different in that respect. So Anisa, my question to you is that in this spirit of unity that PREDA has been formed, what are the ways that we can contribute to fostering like collaboration and knowledge sharing among professionals in these industries where that culture doesn't exist at the moment?
Frankly speaking, I haven't really looked into that yet. But once we're all together on it, then one could figure out how to collaborate. Because right now I haven't spoken to anyone about this.
Right now, once we get on a platform and set strategic rules and say that this is what we can do and this is what we won't do. And so if it's like a certain activation and the client is asking for the earth, moon, and stars, we will not be able to give it. And then you can't say that that client said, oh, but so-and-so is doing it. Now, it happened to us recently. Like there was one influencer, a really big one, who gave us a certain price, which she assured us was her best price. The client comes back to us and says, but XYZ is quoting, literally, if she said 60,000 to us, the client came back and said, but XYZ is quoting 10. And we said, but that is just not possible. I mean, no, you're keeping money. We are not keeping money. This is what her quote is. And we showed them the quote. Ultimately, what happened was that she said, yeah, some girls had called me and asked, would I do it for 10? And I said, nahin, bilkul bhi nahin, but let me know what this is about. So they just, some other PR agency that really doesn't have overheads, has nothing, went and told a client, we can get her for 10. That wasted so much time, and it was back and forth that we were able to finally resolve this issue. Now, I think if we had a proper council and accredited, if like that, those two girls who were pretended to be an agency would never be able to go and sell themselves.
Anisa, you wanted to add to that?
No, not really, because this still needs to be addressed. And all of us need to sit together and seriously talk about it, because this kind of thing is happening all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not.
I'm gonna add to this. I think there are industry rates that you have. You always have different categories of people. Once you send an industry rate for a quality person, or it doesn't even have to be an influencer, it could be, you need to have some kind of control. You need to have a control on the pricing, so that it doesn't get, that people are not undercutting you, and the client is not. Then, client was definitely thinks that you are on a take. You don't want to be thought of as a corrupt company where you're doing things like that. I think that was an important point.
So if I can summarize the point essentially, so as far as knowledge sharing of PREDA is concerned, all of us have a large amount of these experiences that have been irregular or unethical, that are client facing. And maybe if we pooled that sort of information together and protected other operators in the industry, maybe from not necessarily going in the same trap, and also setting benchmarks, because I've seen what happens in our industry is, one person is offering the same thing for a small amount, a much smaller amount than say a bigger agency. As Farish, they were saying, two people who have no overheads versus a proper agency, and that undercuts the industry for everybody. So I think we are responsible then for maybe benchmarking. If I were to summarize,
we develop a rate and tariff sheet.
That's right.
Standardized sheet.
Yeah.
Standardized sheet, credibility, quality, control, all this will come into play. And also
And then-
blacklisting. I mean, at some point, when everyone in the industry knows that there's a certain client who hasn't paid up, or there is a vendor who's always, being aggressive and not delivering. Not delivering is the most important. You need to have an industry rule, and then they know that they can't work in the industry. That is a very important thing that PREDA will be able to do. Is, hey, here's a list. We can help you out. Here's a list of vendors. Here's a list. You've got, these are the credited ones. And credited, we can be the ones who can give that accreditation. That's one of the opportunities that PREDA will provide, is give you the accreditation that these are the people to work with, and these are
that says we are PREDA accredited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit to digital and technology now. So, Sarfraz, I know you and Janzeb have been really active in the digital sphere, especially, where it's gaming, influencers. I mean, you guys have a whole empire going for you, not just in events. What do you think has been the role, of technology in shaping the future of the industries that we represent? PR, digital marketing, event management, and activations. And what is your vision for PREDA in knowledge sharing and embracing and leveraging these technological developments?
So, hello everyone, and thank you, Selena, for the opportunity. So there's a lot of expectation from people from PREDA, right? When we formed also, I think the basic questions that we get, that how are we going to evolve as an industry? Do we going to have a formal representation, and whatever the problems are, the basic rules of any industry, the regulations and controls everyone has talked about. And I think I just wanted to also address that. So I hope that although PREDA has been there for almost 2 years, Priya can exactly tell the time frame, but I think we're going through the basic teething issues, but more people, once they're going to come on board and we'll have a better form, body to represent, I think we can talk about things that how much are we contributing as an industry to the entire economy of Pakistan. And I think that's how we're going to justify the value of this organization, and I have great expectations from all this. So, and I'm positive. Secondly, now coming to your question, Selena, about the entire technology part. So, fortunately, or I don't know, we've been during the Corona time, during the pandemic, everybody had to evolve, and when we saw that, and nobody knew कि अब कब तक आपके पास ये time रहेगा. तो शुरू में a lot of companies who approached us, they were also reluctant that how the event's gonna go. But I think technology played a big role over there, and we realized how हमने उसको undermine कैसे किया हुआ था. And I think through Zoom, through virtual events, we reached out to an audience, and this is how the entire event industry also evolved. It didn't stop. It helped us to progress and grow and discover that side, which I think we could never thought of before. So I would always take pandemic as an opportunity also, where we saw another side of the event industry also. Technology, dekho, Selena, I guess there are two sides. One is, if you talk about PREDA, we were talking about how through technology, and this is the first session that we're doing, how we can reach out to a wider audience. And I hope in future we have these sessions with different organizations in different countries also, their representations also, so that we can learn and we can grow, and we can curate a nexus. Because we were talking about vendors also. I think Priya was talking about that. आपकी technology पाकिस्तान में restrict करती है अभी भी आपको, चाहे वो projection mapping हो, चाहे वो anything else. There are a lot of things जो आपकी local vendor के ऊपर totally dependence हो जाती है. So I think अगर we have access, and they have those vendors who are sitting in let's say Dubai or other countries who have easier access to our country, I think our event structure will probably more enhanced, and it will have a different kind of vibe altogether. अभी जैसे आपकी चाहे वो projection mapping हो या फिर when we all started, and I think we started with skins as backgrounds. It relates to projectors and to SMDs, and everything is evolving. But I think अगर आप उसको साथ adapt नहीं करेंगे तो definitely you'll be आप उस तरह से evolve नहीं कर पाएंगे, grow नहीं कर पाएंगे. But I think the important part right now for PREDA and the technology part would be having these more sessions also. From our own events also, I think how about all events do not allow, because we're working for clients and we're restricted. Some of our work cannot go on social media, cannot be posted, or cannot be shared. So we can only get to see that after once it's done through our lenses or on our social medias. But I think अगर हमारा ये representation ज़्यादा strong हो जाती है, और जहाँ पे जिन events चाहे वो corporate हो, public हो, private हो, और and they allow us to कि हम वो events दिखा सकते हो to the audience through technology. I think this will also help people who are right now thinking of event management or PR or activation, whatever, as a career in future. I think a practical, because you cannot be practically there if the event is happening wherever it is, chahe Karachi, Lahore, but they can through technology they can look into our events and they can learn, and they I think this should be one of the purposes of PREDA also, to help people grow and take it as a career in future if they are looking forward to it, and they can learn, and they would want to be a part of PREDA in future.
Thank you, Sarfraz. I think that's very interesting, maybe using our case studies essentially of the work that we do, and giving access to those case studies through technology to our members. I think that's very important and good exposure. And especially in the student outreach side that you've suggested offline before. I want to come to Amir, because Sarfraz, you raised a really interesting point where you talked about forming a global nexus or alliance, with other people. And Amir, you're sitting in England right now. You're there presumably for work. You work out of the Middle East quite a lot. So, you do a lot of work outside of Pakistan. What are some of the emerging trends and innovative practices that you see, or best practices, in the landscapes in which you operate, in the different regions in which you operate? And how do you think that they can be adapted to Pakistan? Or are we really ahead?
Hi, Selena. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the question. I personally believe the technology over here plays a much bigger role because people are more connected on social media, the WhatsApp broadcasts, the digital formations of different, activations, platforms. The vendors are much more punctual. They're much more professional. Even in Middle East, I just did a show with an Indian jewelry designer in London. I mean, working here is much more peaceful as compared to what we do and what we suffer back home in the form of influencers and, other people. Abibi, I personally think social media plays a very active role in promoting the client and promoting the client, promoting the brand, because print and broadcast are completely out and your personal contacts come in very heavily regardless for the promotion of any brand or any launch.
Thank you, Amir. That was very helpful. I'm just going to ask everybody here attending and just remind everyone who didn't hear it in the opening note that if you have any specific questions, could you please pop them in the chat box? That would be very, very helpful. And I also wanted to say, if you're interested in becoming a member of PREDA, you can visit our website, preda.com.pk. There's a section dedicated to membership. It's got all the fee, the information, the contact details, and we'd love for you to join. We accept individuals as members. We accept corporate professionals. So even if you're working in communications or event role or digital role in an agency, and we accept overall agency or company memberships as well. So I just wanted to put that there. And Shanaz, I wanted to come back to you. I know you have an event today, so I'm going to ask you a question now before you have to leave. So this entire PREDA was actually your idea. You were really the brainchild behind it and the powerhouse really that got everybody together. And I wanted to ask you, like, I know that a lot of us through our work have to deal with educational institutions or government bodies, many other different stakeholders all the time. When you put this together, how did you envision that PREDA would engage with these different stakeholders to create a professional and conducive environment for growth across all of our industries? Because we can't grow independently. Ultimately, we are reliant on government policy, whether it's through taxation, so on and so forth.
Thank you for that, Selena. Yes, in fact, this is something that has always been very close to my heart because, as you know, all of us are registered bodies. We pay our taxes. We have our NTNs, and then very often we get undercut by small companies that come up that don't want to pay taxes, and clients who don't want to pay taxes very conveniently go to them after having taken quotes from us, seen that even though they realize that the work may be better because it's we have our overheads, we've got a whole company instead of a one-man show. But in this, the situation, the way it is with the economy, the way it's going, every 5 rupees also seems to matter to them. So then they don't want to give the taxes. And the result is that, the companies like us that are actually trying to survive face issues because of that. So with PREDA, we are very, very firm on the fact that all our members will be taxpayers. They will have their NTN numbers, they will all be paying taxes. And once you have a body where all the established companies, all the people who are reputed for providing services that are impeccable, are registered on that, there will be no alternative for the client but to go to one of these companies and pay the taxes. It won't be like they'll dump you to come to me or me to go to PREDA, because all of us will be on the same platform. And this is how the government is going to benefit as well, because what we want to try and explain to the government is that PREDA is actually working in their favor. We are bringing everybody in the tax net. We are not only bringing all of us as companies that are running digital event management, PR activations, but also we are going to be bringing our vendors into the tax net. Most vendors are not taxpayers right now, but we are going to encourage that we will be working with people who are going to be paying taxes so that the country benefits from this. So PREDA is actually paying back to the country in that terms. Regarding educational institutions, we hope that we will be able to provide our services and provide training to institutions, especially at the university level. I know most of us have been doing this on our own in any case. I've gone very often to give, lectures on PR and conducted workshops at various universities. I'm sure everybody here has done something or the other to that effect. So I think that would be something that we would be looking at it more sort of streamlined and provide that to the universities so that they don't have to struggle and learn on the field like we did. There was nothing for us when we came into the field to learn from. I remember when I did mass communications in university, PR was one chapter in this entire journalism, it was called, that aspect. So I just learned, while I was working. So at least this way we will be there to share our information, our knowledge, and maybe even help universities establish departments for these various industries. And as for other stakeholders, I think we are not here just for ourselves. I think we're here for our clients also. So we are going to provide the clients also a platform where like Farishte mentioned, where, with the Advertisers Association, the clients can go there knowing that they have grievances which can be addressed. Well, they can do that when they come to PREDA as well. So we'll work with all the stakeholders.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Shanaz. And I also just wanted to mention that we have two more of our founding members with us, not on the panel, but just attending. We have Atika Odo, and we appreciate you being here. And we have Janzeb Shafiq, both of them who were instrumental in helping us set up PREDA. And I have a question for Priya.
Rasik as well.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
see Rasik as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. We have Rasik too. So I have a question for Priya. Earlier, I want to pick up on your earlier point where we were speaking about industry challenges and opportunities. And I hope that you could speak a little bit more about the opportunities. Pakistan's been going through a very, very difficult time. As we know, the IMF deal now has offered us some sort of respite. I mean, are you seeing a change in the landscape after the announcement of this deal? What are you seeing in terms of opportunities? And also a second part to that question I wanted to ask, which is diversity you spoke about and inclusion, because we know that these industries often, and all of us sitting here, have at various points been accused of being, elite burgers and not very inclusive and not diverse. So what are we as an industry doing to change that perception and actual and opportunities?
Okay. So opportunities for me, thank you. I'd like to talk about the first thing is that you have to be united. I think Pakistan has to be united when we're talking about the problems that we face. I don't want to go into the political situation or the economic situation because it's still, I don't find it very stable still, but hope, there's always hope. I think Pakistan lives on hope. But what we can do, what are we doing? We're talking about educating, and that's going to take growth and then take us to growth. And then we're talking about licensing. Like I said earlier, if we can do certifications and give accreditation, that is going to set a standard. And when you have standards, the industry grows, everything grows, people are attracted to these fields. That when we're talking about diversity, we have a very big problem in diversity because if we look at the workforce, you have 76% of the workforce is men. And then you have only 24% of women working. 60% of the women who get a degree in Pakistan don't work after they get their degree. And most parents are educating them for better marriage prospects. So we need to encourage having inclusivity in our own offices to make sure that we are balancing first the gender disparity. That's a very important point. And then obviously we need to bring in the the regional aspect as well. Are we hiring people from Jamshoro? Are we hiring people from, KP? Are we hiring people from, at one point, I remember I had every person represented from every religion, including a Parsi, an Alakhani, someone who's Christian. So we need to have that kind of inclusivity. We have to bring those things into our own companies. And once we do that on our singular level, we do that and we would encourage that through PREDA to have more of that. And then obviously getting girls to work, creating safe space. The biggest problem is the safe space problem. Are we creating safe spaces for girls to come to, where they come to work and they're happy to work and they know that their parents feel that they're comfortable and they're safe. And we have to give more to mothers. These are things that are happening all over the world. And I think that's what PREDA is going to do. PREDA is going to encourage that. There are a lot of women in this, in PREDA. And that is how you take it forward through the membership, through inclusivity, through diversity.
Thank you, Priya. That's wonderful. Before I jump back to the questions that I had put down, I actually want to put some of the panel questions. And Priya, just to add on the point that you were talking about right now, someone termed it, Sabina, is with us, and she said there needs to be a people-first culture. And I think that's what you were saying, and I think that's very, very true. I'm going to ask a question to the panel. Whoever's comfortable answering it, please go ahead. Jafar asks, should PREDA also take measures to prevent talent poaching in the market, which often incurs in the pursuit of offering clients a comprehensive one-stop solution?
If I can take that,
Please.
we have to be very careful of course, poaching becomes an ethical issue sometimes. That so and so is my friend, so I will not poach from him or from her. But there's also something called restraint of trade. You can't not hire just because somebody has been somewhere else, because then that person can sue you that you're not giving me an equal opportunity to work. And that becomes very, very murky. So as long as you have your contracts in place and that person has fulfilled that contract, then I don't think you should consider her or him going out to get another job as poaching.
Yeah, I think that that's a very, very important point, because I feel that in this industry, we tend to, well, in many industries, we tend to be very territorial about the people who work with us. And we also have to be equally understanding of the rules of competition and fair practice, right?
Yeah.
So we can't bind them into situations that are not fair. So I think that's a really, really important point. We have another question by Sudem, but I think that it's a very technical question, but I'm still going to pose it. How do you approach social media marketing, and what are some best practices for leveraging social platforms to grow brand presence and engage with customers? Would anyone like to answer that? Like I said, it's a technical question. It's
That's like
not
a
so much.
digital 101.
Yeah. I think what I'll say to them is join us as a member, and you'll have access to a lot of best practices that Sarfraz was speaking about. Our case studies from all the different companies we represent will be open to you. So preda.com.pk, I feel like a sales pitch person, but go to the membership section and join us. And I just wanted to read a comment out loud from Mars, who's given us a bit of appreciation, told us we have an excellent initiative and great points raised by all speakers, which are definitely the pain points we all face on regular. Mars, I believe, runs an event management company. It's high time the industry comes together to unite and create meaningful dialogue. So while we wait, in case we get more questions, I'm going to put some more forward to you. And I want to put this to Sarfraz. What are the expectations and benefits for professionals and companies who become members of PREDA? If you can give me like a top 5, what are the best things that they can get out of PREDA?
Well, first of all, you get to learn a lot right now. There's so many women right now who are representing. And I think Freya just pointed out, and I was also wondering that how many women in our respective organizations, if we do a count, for example, in our organization, we have about 40 to 50 people, and we have a very decent ratio, like almost about half. So that's one way. And in every department they are contributing, and that's so healthy. But talking about PREDA, the 5 things. Well, we have legacies over here. There are people who have been doing this for almost 3 decades, I would say. Freya, right? So I think I not just praising, but it's like institutions. You get to learn from practical, the different governments, different times, and how we survived. There are a lot of big giants who collapsed, and I think the survival of the fittest. I think that we can learn from the event management field also, how the companies have survived, how they have evolved, and what have they learned, and I think what are the avenues they have felt that they are natural pockets which will help them. Like for us, when we were thinking, वो जो हम Maslow hierarchy of needs पढ़ते थे, या फिर हम वो एक life cycle एक brand की पढ़ते थे, तो एक maturity के बाद, एक growth के बाद decline आता था. So we also felt that we need to have similar pockets, something that we can within our premises, an interest that we saw in our team. And I think अगर आप बाकी भी similar देख लें, I think Samra is not here, Walnut, उनका भी talent and PR same साथ चल रहा होता है. So I think जितनी event management companies हैं, उनकी कुछ legs होती हैं जो automatically people associate. Either it's PR, either it's activation, talent, and people approach them. And so you can just not what you can do is you can open up these companies as units contributing to events, and that's how you can grow also. But one thing that I wanted to talk about is how we, because we all are doing a similar work, and that is the reason we're the one part of the council. But how we coexist and how we take inspirations from each other is something that people can learn. Honestly, ये उनका takeaway होना चाहिए. They can within their own industries, rather than cribbing and always complaining, because like Priya said, that how we've survived whatever has gone in Pakistan during these tough times, how nothing is stable, from political to economic to your currency and everything. It changes everything. Like I'm sure आपको लोगों में बहुत इशू आता होगा कि जब आप एक इनवॉइस रेज करते हैं और आप वो भी डॉलर के रेट पे करते हैं, जब आपको बाय द टाइम यू गेट दैट अमाउंट इन योर बैंक इज completely changed. So these are simple things that we probably I think despite of all of this, but people can learn that we've chosen this as a career, and if whether because of passion or whatever, but if somebody who wants to enter this field, they must understand that it's not just something that आप सुबह निकलते हैं और आप it's just complete a white collar job. No, it's sometimes a blue collar job also, and it's a mix of both. And आपको उसकी it's a long game, and if it's and in the long term, if they're उसके macro दोनों चीजों को analyze करके आए, and through PREDA, these regular sessions, they'll be able to learn a lot.
Thanks, Sarfraz, for that. I'm just going to ask if our chairperson, Shanaz, is still here. I mean, I can see you here, but I can't see your video. And if you are, then I have a question. Shanaz, thanks. I can see you. So my question to you is, like, if you had to tell your top 3 or 2 reasons that you put PREDA together, what would they be?
I think my main reason was that I felt that there was a dire need for us to be on one platform where we could act in a unified way, because we were facing problems with clients who were not paying. We've been facing problems with influencers, and when I discuss it with anybody else, friends who are in similar industries, they were facing the same things. And I felt that, we all have common problems, but none of us are really working together to try and solve them. And the more I think about it, the more I felt that it's not just our own problems, but I think we really need to have a platform where we can help us grow, help others grow who are in this industry, and try and establish the right practices so that newcomers don't do the kind of stuff that, we've been facing. And I think that question that came in about talent, I'm not sure whether they really meant employees or whether they meant about talent itself, the way people poach and they take away people's clients, or they take away people's, the talent that they're working with, just so that, they manage to have everybody, like there was some kind of a comment about everything under one roof. So I think that those are problems that are very much there. We all face those, and we need to address that. And I think this is a brilliant platform for doing that, where you work together. And we've seen, we are 13 founding members. And in these last couple of years, I think we've never interacted so much and with such great camaraderie as we have these last couple of years. We've discussed our problems, we've thrashed them out together, and I think that's what we really need to do. That not just with just us, but with everybody else who's in the same industry at large. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that does, absolutely. Anisa, if I could just turn to you, and sorry to put you on the spot, but I wondered if you could share with us maybe some of or one of the challenges that you face in your business. I mean, you do a lot of big corporate events. You also do smaller events. I mean, you have a really good perspective. What are some of the challenges you faced, and how do you feel like a body like PREDA could have helped you in those challenges had PREDA been around then? And you're on mute.
Okay, so One of the most major problems that we do face, or I do, is with the vendors. Vendors can actually either blackmail you, or they don't come on time, they will not arrive on time, but mainly blackmailing is possible because then they know that, okay, she's stuck, she has to do this event, let me rip her off. That is the attitude, general
They
attitude.
ask for cash.
Yeah, yes. So that is one of our most major issues. And also, many times they'll tell you, okay, we're giving you such and such. And when it arrives, it's something different. Or the quantity is not the same as we had booked. So, oh, gee, wo to kharab the, to hum nahi laye. I mean, you've had enough time to fix them if there were. Why didn't you tell us the truth? Last minute, we wahan pahunch ke, in the middle of the event, they'll say कि नहीं ये कम था या वो नहीं था. Those are really big problems, and never being on time. Never. Time is certainly not of the essence to them at all.
I'm going to add to
That is something that has to be taught. They're just not taught.
I think also because a lot of the vendors don't come from a very educated background. They don't have proper invoicing. They're not, definitely, a lot of them are not registered. And it ends up costing you a lot more because in terms of billing, because they're not registered. And now the new law, the new budget is gone up from 20% to 30% if you're not registered. So that really hurts the event company, and it eventually hurts the client. So this is one of the practices that PREDA is going to bring in, is to encourage them to do the right thing, and they don't, to have the right kind of invoices. So you have to start working with them. You have to tell them. Educating the supplier field, with what Safraz was saying also earlier, is you don't have a lot of technology in Pakistan. We also have to help them because they are not necessarily very wealthy people, or they come from different backgrounds. And you have to, if you don't help them, they're not going to bring in new technology. They're not going to have the funds to do it. So it's a situation where it goes hand in hand. So we're working. So I think that's what's important for everyone to understand, that PREDA is not, we're not working just for ourselves, our businesses. We're working for other businesses. We're working for our clients. We're working for everyone to make it a more professional system altogether.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent point that you've said, Priya, because I think institutionalizing maybe the business culture, a professional business culture, is really what PREDA is doing. And I think if I were to further summarize the points that Anisa has raised and you've raised and Sarfraz earlier, I think the issues that exist are maybe on one column, if we looked at it, it's strategic issues. And then there's another column, which are more execution, practical, day-to-day issues. So I think PREDA, the whole point is to look at both columns and try and find solutions to both. And Farishta, I have a question for you specifically that someone's posed, and you're in public relations, and I thought maybe you could answer this. Is public relations a high-paying field? Keeping an eye on the current economic situation in Pakistan, how can a layman consider it as the ultimate sole job?
So it's not the ultimate job at all, because everything that you do, it's so much, you're dependent on so many market forces here. The way things have panned out, all companies have got you down onto a percentage. So regardless of the quality of the work, they will just fix you on a certain percentage, that this is what we pay. So usually it's a percentage of what they spend. So no, and these days, you know what the spends are, they're never high. That works when you are working in a dollar market where the dollar is high and there's frequent spends. So over here, unfortunately, that's not the case. But Selena, you've been in this industry the longest. You, in fact, pioneered it. So I don't know how things have changed from, like, say, 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, things have changed dramatically since 20 years ago. But in my opinion, I have a slightly different opinion. I think it is a sole job possibility if you excel in the field, because I do feel that there's been an explosion of public relations companies because there is a lot of business to go around. The issue right now is the undercutting of the industry, which a lot of us were talking about earlier. Like, so for example, one of the criticisms I face all the time for Lotus is, oh, ye to bahut mehenge hain yaar, they're too expensive. All the time. And I hear it, and honestly, it used to bother me, but it doesn't anymore, because my point is, yes, we are expensive because we're giving a very high quality product and we pay the people in our company well. So that's just how it is. And then you have to be willing to, as a business owner, let go of a lot of business because somebody else is willing to do it. If you're charging $1 million, somebody else is willing to do exactly the same in, like, 1.5 lakhs. So Aliza, I think to answer your question from my perspective, I do feel it is a well-paying field, not a high-paying field, but I do feel that if you're working in a proper agency with progression, then you can consider it as a sole job. But if you're joining like a 1 or 2 mom and pop sort of operation, which there are a lot of them nowadays, or starting out on your own, I think it's very tricky and very difficult. And I just wanted to pose a question to Amit, and then I'm going to ask Priya as a senior vice president in the absence of Shanaz to close the session. But Amit, my last question to you would be, how does the employment work in your field? Because you operate across different countries and continents. So how do you manage?
I have my event-to-event employment where I have signed a contract with people, but rather than paying them monthly, I pay them from event to event or from project to project basis because I'm constantly shuttling between the Middle East. I've started operations in America, UK, Pakistan. So it's very difficult to pay everyone in a monthly format, especially with the dirham, dollar, and the Pakistani rupee disparity. So it's easy. I have freelancers working here and it works out fine. Eventually, when you don't have the monthly overheads and you just pay them as per the project comes in.
That's one way, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Priya, before we turn to you to close the session, we still have a few minutes and we have a question. So I'm going to ask this question particularly of Sarfraz, because you work a lot through your agencies with influencers and digital events. So what strategies do you employ to measure the success and impact of digital events? To them is asked this question.
I'll have to skip this because actually Janzev would have been the best person to answer this. Within our organization, the structure is that Carter is being handled by Janzev directly. I wish I could have answered better, but I think he'll be the first person to.
No, I appreciate that. Is
Yeah.
anyone else willing to answer the question?
Come again.
What strategies do you employ to measure the success and impact of digital events? I'm happy to answer it if nobody else.
Sally, go ahead. Yeah.
So to them, essentially, digital events are measured on a diversity of KPIs. I think the first would be attendance. Depending if it's a public-facing event, you'd want attendance, but it's not just the number of people attending. I think it would be the quality of people attending, especially if it's a B2B event. You'd actually want real potential, consumers of the information that you're putting out in the event to attend. I think the second thing to measure the impact of a digital event is how much talkability does your event have afterwards? Were there people actually taking away information? Are people tweeting about it? Are people circulating clips? Are there any quotable quotes coming from your event? I think these are two good measures. And the third would be that depending on what your event was, so in this case, our event is to talk about PREDA and the future of our industries, how successful you have actually been in talking about the nature of what you've done and how helpful it's been to people. So what a lot of companies do afterwards, after their digital events, is they do an email to all the people who attended or signed up and ask their feedback through a short poll on how effective the seminar was for them. So that's it. Sorry, Sarfraz.
One thing I would like to add, recently we did an event where that was also a learning for us, that they were adamant that they did not want a lot of audience, although they had invested a lot in the entire networking area and engagement areas, and there were so many booths and so many interactive things. but their idea was to create an event for the digital audience. And so they just invite, their focus was on the influencers, opinion leaders, bloggers, and and the entire this list, through using their channels, they wanted to amplify the event audience on social media. So that was the entire objective of that event. So if you were there physically over there, you would feel that there's hardly anyone over there. Like there are about 100 people attending an event, but there are a lot of areas created. I was also, in my mind, I was trying to do maths that what is the return on investment, ROI for them. But I think they counted as a success because calling through the selective audience that they had over there at the event, they went through a massive audience locally and globally, and they reached out to them. And I think the result is eventually in terms of talkability and eventual sales also. So they were really happy with the result. So that's also how the events are being evolved right now.
Thanks for that, Sarfraz. So I just wanted to ask everyone here on the panel, I know that we passed the time by 1 minute, but we have a couple more questions. Are you willing to take the questions, or would you like to go for close?
No, sure. Yeah.
So the two questions are, one is from Abdullah Khwaja. He asks, due to the economic uncertainty in Pakistan, is it logical to think that in order for organizations to continue to operate, they will have to take on more international projects and shift their focus outside of the Pakistan market?
I can answer that. I think that Amir is already doing that, and I think a lot of us are also thinking about it. There's nothing wrong in having your companies outside of Pakistan as well, like you have your branches outside of Pakistan, and it is a very viable, it's also going to help you sustain your business, and it will also help you grow your business. But obviously it's an investment, and you need to think about it in those terms. And absolutely, I think that is definitely a very good, logical, and optional thing to do. That's what I think.
So the next is more a statement on the question that came earlier from Sudhem on digital success. So Mars replied to that. So it's open in the chat box for Sudhem to read. Otherwise, Priya, I'd request you to maybe summarize and close the session. And I thank you all for being here.
So I would like to just say that PREDA was built for a reason. It is, we are all part of it because we believe in it. It has taken a long time, but things take time in Pakistan. But now that we have this, it's very important for us to be together. We would love for people to give us feedback, join our social media pages, give us more information, tell us what you want to hear from us. We're here to grow, and we're here to professionalize things and educate. So please do become a member, because we are stronger when we're together, and we're stronger when we have more numbers.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our chairperson, Shanaz Ramzi, to our senior vice president, Friya Altaf. Thank you to our founding members, Farishte Aslam, Anisa Rashid Khan, Sarfraz Niazi, and Amir Mazhar. And we'll see you next time with a new topic. Khudafis.
Thank you, everybody.
Khudafis. Thank you.
Thank you, Selina. Thank you, everyone. Khudafis.
Khudafis.